The views expressed in this blog are hosted on my own website, are strictly personal, and do not reflect the views of any organization. Hello and welcome my friends to Straight Bat, my weekly video blog where, as the title suggests, I comment with a straight bat. Now this week the political headlines have been dominated by Rahul Gandhi's being questioned day after day by the Enforcement Directorate in a money laundering case or alleged money laundering case, with Congress workers and leaders protesting across the country. RG at ED, Boon or Bane, is therefore the headline of this week's Straight Bat. But I am not going to get into the legal merits of this Enforcement Directorate case. I will leave that to the Subramanium, Swamys and the Abhishek, Manu, Singhvis to slug it out. Instead, my friends, I will give you 5 general observations, talking points that have emerged around the politics surrounding the case. Observation number 1. Rahul Gandhi at the Enforcement Directorate has clearly galvanized the Congress rank and file and their leadership. Just go to the AICC office at 24 Akbar Road. In recent times, it's a relatively quiet, uncrowded area, almost a sense of despair around it. But suddenly, in the last week, you've got Congress workers and leaders climbing out of the woodwork. Every congressman worth his Gandhi topi wants to be seen protesting in support of a Rahul Gandhi. It was very funny that one Congress leader who normally avoids the media actually rang me up this week and said, I am very happy to be interviewed on this issue. Critics will of course call this classic sycophancy Congress style, and yes, it is sycophancy at one level, but for a dispirited party that has suffered election defeat after defeat, the fact is at least they have something now to make a noise about. Sorry for sounding so cynical, but many of these senior leaders and MPs who I saw this week on the streets crying hoarse over Rahul's situation were missing in action when the same party called for a nationwide agitation on price rise a few months ago. At least in Delhi, I didn't see them anywhere. Point number 2. The chorus of support for a Rahul Gandhi may be a boon for the Congress internally, getting the party mobilized, but is a bane for the party externally. Look, when you protest your leaders' questioning by the Enforcement Directorate, it may seem, and it is, a great act of solidarity for the party faithful, nothing wrong with that, but for the general public, the non-Congress voters, it seems like this is a party that protested too much and protests on the wrong issue, misplaced priorities. Ever since the Anna Hazare agitation in 2011, the Congress, like it or not, has been typecast as a corrupt party. That tag still hasn't left the popular imagination, no doubt facilitated by a modified media. Now when Congress leaders therefore jostle with the police, take on the police, the optics, to be honest, aren't very great for the party, because it sends out the message that the party will do anything to save its leader and first family who are accused in a case of alleged money laundering. Now that, as I said, nothing wrong for the Congress itself to do that. It may well be that the case is bogus, that Rahul Gandhi is fully innocent, but ideally all of this should be pronounced in a court of law. It can't be settled beyond a point on the street. Observation number 3. The whiff of political vendetta in this case is unmistakable. It is a decade now since Dr. Swamys filed a private complaint in the case, but the matter has proceeded very slowly in the courts until now. Suddenly the Enforcement Directorate has got into the act. In fact, the general belief was that the government was delaying this matter. Remember, there is still not an FIR listing a scheduled offence under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, or at least none that I have seen to suggest that there is a prima facie case being made out. But as they say in India, the process is often the punishment. Keep the case simmering so that the Gandhi family is never free from the strangle, in a sense, of the law. A BJP leader told me something interesting this week. He told me, don't forget, Rajdeep, that Prime Minister Modi was subject to an inquiry in the Gujarat riots case for more than a decade. Didn't Mr. Modi appear without a fuss before an SIT in 2010 and was questioned for 9 hours? Fair point, I said. But in that question posed to me by the BJP leader lies the answer. Because if Mr. Modi can go through all those hours of questioning, why can't the Gandhis be subject to similar interrogation is the BJP's line of reasoning today. I recall when P. Chidambaram was arrested a few years ago, the same BJP leader reminded me that Amit Shah had also been arrested when Chidambaram was Home Minister. Chidambaram spent 106 days in jail, Amit Shah little over 3 months. It was almost a case of Nehle pe Dela, or as they say, Hisab Barabar. Point number 3. The Enforcement Directorate and the central agencies are all a sword arm of the Modi government. I am told that the ED's raids and inquiries have risen by an average of 20 to 30% per year in the last 5 years. As per a government answer in the Lok Sabha, the ED has filed 4,964 case information reports between July 2015 and February 2022, even as the department has obtained only 23 convictions under the PMLA in this period. And just look at the list of opposition leaders under ED scrutiny. Sonia and Rahul Gandhi, Robert Vadra, P. Chidambaram and his son Karti, Bhupinder Hooda, DK Shivkumar, Sharad Pawar and Ajit Pawar, Anil Deshmukh, Sanjay Raut's wife Varsha, Satyendra Jain of AAP, Abhishek Banerjee of TMC, Farooq Abdullah, Lalu Prasad, Mayawati, Akhilesh Yadav, Hemant Soren, even as I am speaking, Ashok Gehlot's brother is being raided. We can go on and on. By contrast, ED or CBI cases have either been slowed down or closed against guess who? B.S. Yediyurappa, the Reddy brothers of Karnataka, mining barons, Hemanto Biswa Sarma, who has now switched of course to the BJP, Shivraj Singh Chauhan, former Union Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal, Narayan Rane, Suvendu Adhikari. What do they all have in common? They are aligned to the BJP. It almost seems therefore as if the opposition ruled states and leaders are under the ED scanner and those with the BJP and its allies are, as they say, doodh ka dhulai, or as they say, surf ki dhulai, washing machine. My final observation. This case, in my sense, therefore, now falls into what I call increasingly as the weapons of mass distraction, WMD category. The last month or two hasn't been great for the Modi government. Inflation peaked at an 8-year high last month. The war in Ukraine has meant that the projected economic growth could slow down or is slowing down. We've had the Gyan Vapi mosque issue and the Ram Navami processions turning violent that have seen a rise in Hindu-Muslim tensions. There has also been a rise in targeted killings in the Kashmir Valley, putting a question mark on the government's Kashmir initiative. The Nupur Sharma controversy has led to angry outbursts from the Islamic world, especially West Asia. And we've had serious allegations of cronyism from Sri Lanka last week over a power project granted to the Adanis, with Prime Minister Modi's name also being brought in. It is not the kind of headlines that this government or any government wants or needs at this moment. In that sense, Rahul Gandhi before the Enforcement Directorate is the ideal attention grabber, more so because the perception remains that Rahul Gandhi as a Congress leader remains the perfect enemy for Mr. Modi in 2024. Ironically then, Rahul Gandhi in the headlines is good news for the Congress because it can build the image of Rahul Gandhi as a victim in a way. And remember, the Congress wants him to take over the party sooner rather than later. But ironically, it is also good news for the BJP, which would rather contend with Rahul Gandhi as the primary opposition leader rather than an Arvind Kejriwal or even a Mamta Banerjee. As a postscript, let me tell you what a congressman suggested to me. that if Rahul Gandhi was arrested, he said in this case, then it might be a boon for the Congress because Rahul would garner public sympathy. The leader even was likening Rahul's condition to Indira Gandhi's arrest by Morarji Desai's Janta government in 1978. My simple response, A, I don't think that the Modi government will arrest a member of the Gandhi family just yet. And I am sorry, and that's B, that Rahul Gandhi isn't Indira Gandhi and neither is Narendra Modi a Morarji Desai. Think about it. That was the Straight Bat. Do of course subscribe to my YouTube channel for many more such videos. For now, stay well, stay safe. Jai Hind.